It's said that the most common regret people have during the last few days of their lives is that they wish they had dared to live a life true to themselves, not the life others expected of them. That's why I think it's just so important that we take the time to reflect upon what we want to do with our lives, especially regarding our work, just because it consumes so many hours of the day. And in this video, I'll share a 7-step process to help you figure that out. Whether you're in school and aren't too sure about the kind of work you want to do for a living, or if you're currently working in a job maybe you dislike and feel like it's time to make a career change, well, this video will help you define what you want. I spent my entire 20s stressing out and having anxiety because I didn't know what to do with my life. From the age of 17 to 27, I just traveled. So I had only small jobs in restaurants and cafes and tourism, and I changed countries and cities every 6 months. But then when I turned 26 actually, I thought I really need to figure that out. I really need to figure out what I want to do with my life. So I came back home to Montreal, I went back to school, but still, I didn't know. It took me another 5 years to figure it out until I was about 32. I'm gonna share with you my process, what I did to figure it out. So hopefully it's not gonna take you as long. So the first thing I did was to map out my interests. So on a sheet of paper or in a Word document, you can just write down all the things you like doing. You can also write all the topics that interest you. Just make sure that there are things that you know you like because you've tried them before. For example, I wrote hiking and spending time in nature, running, making videos, entrepreneurship, reading nonfiction books, and taking courses on topics related to personal and spiritual growth. For you, it could be drawing, rock climbing, cooking, birds, dogs, fishing, playing board games, watching movies, going to concerts, traveling. After you finish writing down all the things you like doing, answer these questions and just add whatever else is relevant to your list. So imagine you enter a big bookstore like Barnes & Nobles. What section of the bookstore do you go to? What websites do you visit or blogs do you read just for fun? Not when you're working or not when you're doing schoolwork. What kind of YouTube videos do you like watching? What topics? What classes did you prefer in school? Next, look at your list and circle the items that you think you could do all day. For example, I love hiking, but I wouldn't do that all day, every day. And I love spending time outside in nature, but I'm not passionate enough about the outdoors to build a career around it. Like I wouldn't become a guide or even a writer for a magazine like Outside or Explore. But I could spend all day watching videos and reading books and taking classes about personal growth and spirituality. So I circled on my list making videos and personal growth and learning. Next, look at your list again and see if you can make associations between the items that you circled. For example, in my case, I associated making videos and personal growth, which became creating courses and videos about personal growth. Another example could be like if someone had written walking, spending time outside, and maybe that they loved animals. Well, they could make an association between their love for animals and walking, and it could become dog walking. That's just an example. So I invite you to brainstorm ways you could make money, make a living with maybe just one single item on your list, and also by making associations between 2 or more items. Now you can also think of the people you know who do jobs that you think are interesting, even if it's not exactly the thing you would like to do. So on another sheet of paper, you can draw 3 columns, and on the left side, write down the name of the person and what they do. In the middle, write down the aspects of the work they do that you find interesting. And on the right column, write down what you don't like about that job. For example, I remember that I used to be a bit envious of one of my friends who's a freelance digital artist. I envied that she made a living doing something creative and also that she could work from anywhere. But I didn't want to be a freelancer because for me, it's still a job. I prefer to create and sell my own products to being hired to work on someone else's projects. Once you have found something that you think you might like doing, take the time to do your research and look at all the aspects of it. Would you be working with and interacting with people, or would you work mainly alone? And would you be okay with that? What kind of schedule would you have? Like, would it be fixed, like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5? Or would it be flexible? And are you okay with that? Would you work in an office or from home or on the road? And if you think that you want to build a business, then take extra time to think about the different business models and their characteristics and if it's something you would like. For example, a few years ago, I started working on a digital magazine. I wanted to create and launch a digital magazine about spirituality and personal growth. It was so much work and I was trying to do it on my own. But the worst part for me is that since it was to be released monthly, I had to create and come up with new content every month. Forever, at least as long as the magazine existed. I felt so stuck and I began to have anxiety. You see, I'm a bit obsessed with freedom, so this business model was just not for me. So if you want to build a business, make sure that you spend some time looking at all the different business models and make sure that the one you choose is likely to be something you'd like. You're not gonna know for sure until you try it, but you can still have an idea. Then you want to ask questions. So it's very useful to meet people who already do the kind of work you're thinking you would like to do and ask them questions. Interview them, ask them what it's like to do what they do. Ask them to tell you about what their usual work week and work day look like. I have a friend who hustled to get into a very good culinary school in Montreal to become a pastry chef. So she studied for a year and a half, I think, and then she did her internship. And during her internship, she realized that she absolutely disliked being a pastry chef. First, she had to wake up super early in the morning, and she's not a morning person. She was also alone most of the time in her work, and she's a people person. She didn't take the time to do her research, and she didn't take the time to meet people who already work in that field. If she had done that, she would have probably found out before getting into the school that it wasn't for her. She would have saved money and time. Which brings me to the next point. Don't wait. Try it. You will never know if you really like the thing until you try. 3 years ago, I thought I would start a podcast. I thought that was the perfect idea because that's how I consume information most of the time. I love to listen to podcasts. Plus, it was a perfect business model because I would learn, like I could interview people and experts in fields I'm interested in and just learn from them and then share the information with the listeners. That was perfect. I did 4 interviews. I hated my life. You see, I really don't like working with the audio format, like audio files. I didn't like editing the podcast, and I actually even didn't like doing the interviews. Especially since English is not my main language, it's actually quite hard to interview when it's not your main language. I'm not saying it's impossible, but for me it was quite difficult. I prefer making videos. It's not necessarily easy, but it's something that I enjoy doing. But here's the thing, I talked about launching a podcast for almost a year before I did it. If I had tried it sooner, I would have discovered that it's not something I like and I would have saved time. So don't just assume that you're gonna like or dislike something. You also have to try it before you really know. Figuring out what you want to do with your life is a process that includes self-reflection and exploration and intuition. So the last thing I'll recommend is that you learn to listen to and follow your intuition. This has been one of the most useful things I've learned in the past few years. I made a video a while ago in which I explain how to tap into and follow your intuition to make better life choices. I'll link that video in the description below and also on the screen. So if you find this video helpful, let me know by giving it a thumbs up. Also subscribe if you haven't. I publish a new video every week, and I wish you a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and I'll see you next week.